before we begin with Model 5, just a few things to point out, to let you know that assignment 2 is quiz. As some of you may have seen that in the summary content, it said Excel in your unit outline. But when you look in page 8, it said quiz. So the assignment 2 is quiz. It's not an essay that you're going to write. It's a 20 multiple questions that you're going to get and answer them within 30 minutes. So it's good, it's not essay. Just to clarify that, because some people are still confused whether assignment 2 is an essay or quiz, but it's not an essay, it's a quiz. And also to say that now that we are online, use the Milo platform to interact with each other. If you have any material or thought you feel like sharing, feel free to share it. You are encouraged to use the Milo site to communicate with each other, or share anything or post any question that you have. Feel free to post questions and ask any question on Milo platform as well. And any useful material that you have, you think, oh, okay, this is good to share, feel free to share, whether for this model or any of the models that we've treated. Anything you have to share, share it. So, because I've realized that most of you are not using Milo platform to communicate with each other, so feel free to use that. Now, as we start today's lecture, as we are going through, if you have any question, feel free to interrupt at any time. You can use the raise your hand by using the raise up hand sign, or you can just interrupt me and let me know that you have questions, and feel free to ask questions anytime. Now, so today we are looking at the shipbuildings, repairs and maintenance. That's what we're going to look. So we're going to look at in building the new ships, what are the nitty-gritties of it, and also in repairs, what kind of repair works is being done on the ships, and maintenance as well. So those are the areas that we'll be covering. And in this Model 5, the key questions are focus questions that we have. We have 4 key questions that we need to answer. The first one is about the factors that influence the design of a new ship. So if you're a ship owner, you're going to design or build a new ship, what are the factors that will influence or will determine your choice of building a particular ship? And secondly, we also want to know the roles of the classification society. And as you know, classification society have important role to play in terms of ship operations as a whole. And thirdly, I want you to also to answer the question with regard to how does the maritime industry ensure that ships comply with the international standards. With international standard as a whole, we'll look at that into details in Model 11. And also, I also wanted to answer the 4th question with regard to what are the common type of repair works that be done on ships. So we are talking about ships that are in operation. So what are the kind of the major maintenance work done on them? So that leads us to our first point for this morning. So first, we are looking at the ship design. With ship design, we are talking about new ships here, not about second-hand ship. So as a ship owner or a shipping company, if you want to acquire or buy a ship, for new ships, you definitely going to have certain criteria that will guide you in order to buy this new ship. The ship owner have 2 choices to make in terms of acquiring ships. They can build a new ship, or they can just walk into the second-hand market and then acquire a ship in the second-hand market. Some of the factors that we are going to talk also will influence if you're going to buy in the second-hand market. But in the second-hand market, you have a limited choice of using these factors to determine the type of ship. But strictly over here, we're talking about new ships. So when building a new ship, ship owners or shipping companies, they first of all think about the ship productivity. So with ship productivity, we are talking about how efficiently you can run your ships, and in order to maximize your revenue, maximum profit. So for example, with ship productivity, installing electrical propulsion unit on board ships would enhance the ship by lowering the ship operation cost. And at the same time, it also gives the ship owner a space on board the vessel by eliminating the old system of the shaft tunnels that they fitted on board ships in the old ships. This takes space on board a ship. So if you remove these by using this electrical propulsion, it helps the ship to reduce space so that you can have more carry capacity as well. At the same time, increasing your efficiency in operating these vessels. So it's going to lower your operation costs, and that is one of the things that as a ship owner you are looking at, that you want to operate your ship in a way that is lowering your operation costs. Now, acquiring a new ship, the other area you as ship owner will also look at is about the shipper's need, your customer's need, and this is done with market research. So you do a research and look at the market condition, what type of service is your customers looking for, the shippers looking for, and then you build a ship that meets such a unique need for your shippers. If your shippers are looking for maybe refrigerator services, then you are going to build your ship that can meet this need. So there are various needs of shippers. So you build purposely to meet those needs of shippers. And then also when building a new ship, you also take into consideration the shipboard efficiency. So the equipment that you're going to install on board the vessel, you want the operation on board to be very efficient. So that also led out to the issue of automation. And now most terminals, if you're operating, especially in a liner sector, which is containerized and the unitized cargo handling. Most terminals are automated these days. If you look globally, most terminals are automated. So you want to build a ship in a way that it can also operate in these automated environments. So you don't want to have issue with ship going to a terminal which is automated, and then your ship cannot interact with these terminal effectively. And then also you consider the safety and regulating issue. In shipping operation, safety is a key. Safety is paramount among all. So no matter what type of ship you're building, you want it to conform to the high safety standard, and also meeting the regulations that have been put in place by international bodies and the national government as well. Then above all, with this new era, you want to your ship to conform to technology. You want to use modern technology on board your vessel in terms of the equipment that you're using on board. In operation as a whole on board a vessel, you want it to be adapted to these new technology that are in existence. And above all, as a ship owner, when you are building a new ship, you are adding a ship to existing ships that you have, the fleet that you have. You are adding, but one of the things as a ship owner you are looking at is not just by adding a ship to your existing ship to increase the number of ships, but rather you are adding a capacity. You are increasing the size of the ship so that you can somehow eliminate the smaller ships in the system. And if you look at critically in the industry, or you read a report in the industry, you hear that there are excess capacity in the system. But however, the number of ships in the system are decreasing. And this happened because the new ships that are being introduced in the system, they are the bigger size. The capacity has been increased, but the number of new ships actually being added, the total number of ships in the system is fewer than what we have. If you're looking at a decade ago or 2 decades ago, we have more ships than what we have now. But however, the capacity we have now exceed more than what we have in a decade ago, which means that presently we are having excess capacity in the system. So more capacity in the system, having fewer cargo to carry. So these also have effect on the freight rate, because then the freight rate will decrease because we have more capacity in the system. As I said, as we proceed, and if you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me or raise your hand and then ask question. Now, beside those factors we spoke about, there are other things that will influence the type of ships that you want to acquire and the design that you want to have. And some of the things that will influence it are the trade in which you are operating. If you are operating in certain trade, it is going to determine the type and the size of ship that you're going to have. For example, if you engaging in a trade between Asia and North America, or Asia and Europe, purely in a container trade, is going to determine the type and the size of the ship that you're going to have. If it is within Asia and Europe and you are in a container trade, definitely you are going to have a big size of ships. You are going to increase your ship capacity. You're not going to build a new ship that is small, because then you're not going to enjoy economies of scale. So you're going to build a bigger ships so that you can carry more units as you can carry, by reducing the cost of operation. And the bigger ships you have, the operation cost is lower than having more smaller ships. Because if you look at it critically, in terms of operating a vessel, there's not that much difference between having a bigger ship and a smaller ship covering the same distance, longer distance. You realize that using a bigger ship in terms of operation rather decrease your cost somehow, because the number of crew that you have on board, there's not that much variance big difference between having a small ship and a big ship. And in terms of operating as a whole, so you realize that the bigger ship give you an advantage rather than smaller ship. The other factor you consider is about the cargo mix that you're going to move. So if you're going to carry a particular specific cargo, one homogeneous cargo, it's also going to determine the type of ships that you're going to build or buy. But however, if you're going to carry various cargo, for example, you want to carry ore and oil, which may be probably carrying iron ore and then carrying oil. If your ship is going to engage in those trade, then you're going to build a ship which are the type of ships that we spoke about last week, about the OBO or OO ships. That means it's a combination carrier which can carry both oil and ore. So the type of cargo that you're going to carry will also influence the type of ships and the size of ship that you're going to build. And also, most importantly, is the carry capacity is very crucial for ship owners. The carry capacity going to determine your revenue. So no matter how beautiful or fast your ship is, if you can't carry enough cargo, you can't generate enough revenue, because most of the in ship operation, the freight that you generate, mostly the freight is determined by the quantity of cargo that you can carry, multiplied by a dollar unit that will give you your total sum of revenue. That is the freight that you're going to generate. Apart from a few instances where freight rate is determined on a lump sum basis. Beside that, in terms of any other freight or revenue that you're going to generate, is determined about the quantity of cargo that you're going to load on board a vessel. That is going to determine the revenue that you're going to generate. So as a ship owner, you want to maximize your carrying capacity. That is also the reason why, in terms of productivity that we spoke about in previous slides, is very important about installing equipment on board that can reduce space, that can let you have more space for cargo carry capacity. And you see that because of this, most ship owners will definitely do away with the old system of installing equipment which are not efficient and also take much more space. They are reducing this space. That's also the reason why you see most ships, the accommodations for the seafarers are really small, because the ship owner want to maximize carry capacity. They want to increase carry capacity. So carry capacity is very important for every ship owner. And then also the length and the duration of the voyage that you're going to undertake also will determine whether your ship size, whether you're going to have certain type of ships. If you're going to operate in a voyage or a trade which is with a short distance, then obviously a smaller ship will be to your advantage rather than building a new ship, a bigger ship. So if you build a bigger ship to undertake a short-term voyage, it may be, you may use it, but it will not play to your advantage, because in terms of the trade, the volumes of trade, the traffic that you're going to carry between that short distance, if you don't have so much volume to carry within shorter distance, it's going to go against you, because then your vessel will be in a port, but you can't have enough cargo to fill the space because of the short distance. You're going to run very fast, maybe every week or every 2 days you are back to the port, and you don't have that enough volume of cargo to carry. So therefore, smaller ship will be to your advantage. But if it is the longer distance, then which is going to take a month, 2 months, then bigger ships will be to your advantage, so that you can carry enough cargo. Speed is also an important factor that most ship owners consider. Speed in the sense that not just only want to go on high speed, by using the propulsion system or the engine system that will enable you to achieve maximum speed using the lower consumption as well. So this, in previous ships that have been built, the ship owners were not able to achieve this. So the only way that they do is by low steaming. As some of you may hear about low steaming. Low steaming is just simple. The ship owners reducing speed to reduce fuel consumption. In a nutshell, they are reducing operation costs. So they're using low speed. But in new ships that they're building now, they're building the ships that can achieve the speed by using low power, low consumption. So these are some of the things that you consider, you factor in as a ship owner when you're building a new ship. And at the same time, also looking at the statutory regulation, that is for the national regulation, the country in which you're going to register your ship, the flag that you're going to fly. You want to build your ship to conform to all their regulation, and above all to the international regulation with the IMO regulation. For example, with 2020 rule, with fuel consumption now, ships are not allowed to use they have fuel to use the light fuel these days. So you can't use this old fuel, which is against the IMO rules now. So you have to use light fuel, which obviously also come with a cost, because light fuel costs much more. Then also, apart from the regulation will talk much more detail about the regulation in Model 11 also as well. And overall, you also want to look at the building cost and the operation cost. The building cost, you as a ship owner, how to reduce the building cost is by giving tender to most shipyards. Various shipyards submit a tender, and then you look at their tender and look at which shipyard can provide you the best quality ship at the lower cost. And that is what you are looking at. And then you're also looking at the duration that it will take them to deliver your vessel for you. So these are some of the few and the key things that you take into consideration when building a new ship, or when you're going to buy a new ship from a shipyard. You're going to consider all these factors. Now, the next area is to look at in the phase of building a new ship. So that's the flow chart of building a new ship. To build a new ship, the first thing to consider is, first of all, look at your design. So as a ship owner or shipping company, most shipping companies have their own naval architect department within their organization. So it's that department will look at the design based on the needs of the ship owner or the shipping company that we want to engage in this trade, and this is the type of cargo that we want to carry, and therefore we want to design a ship like this. And then you go into the drawing board with naval architects coming up with the clear design on what type of ship you want to build. Now, some ship owners who are individual ship owners that don't have those departments, they may consult in the private naval architect to design their new ship for them based on their expectation and explaining to them their needs. And besides that, shipyards themselves also have ship design that you can walk into and go to to the shipyards and pick a design from them. But the disadvantage is the shipyard design might not meet your peculiar needs as you want to engage in a trade, on a new trade. So therefore, you may need some modification with regard to what the design that the shipyards have. The advantage to getting the shipyards design is it's cheaper because the shipyards themselves design it, and they are producing some similar type of ships already in the system. So therefore, the cost for them building it for you is much cheaper than you building it yourself. So once you finish with the design, you are clear on what you want to design. The next step is to approach a shipyard by in form of them submitting tender for you to select a shipyard and say they should build this ship for you. Now, for them to build the ships, your naval architect, mostly the ship owners, their naval architect departments, some delegates will also be in the shipyard to monitor the construction of the vessel. And then also shipyards, before you start building a ship, the new ship owners will somehow nominate or pick a classification society to also be at the shipyard or be there, visit there regularly to monitor the type of ship that they're building for you, making sure that the ship that they're building is conforming to the standard. So every ship needs to be in class. That means after you acquire a ship, you need to, your ship need to be with some classification society, which is monitoring the safety and the high standard of that ship, that the ship is meeting all the regulations. So a shipyard, within a shipyard, the ship owner themselves will have their own naval architects, individuals be there monitoring the construction of the ship, or they will also nominate classification society, which also will be there monitoring the ship, decide that the ship yard themselves also monitoring the construction of the vessel. Now, once the contract is signed, the next time is for the shipyard to procure all the materials that they're going to use. I'm not going into much more details in this model with regard to the construction of the vessel itself, because there are much more that we can talk, which can take us a whole day. So I will not go much more into details of that. So the next step is the procurement of the material. Once the shipyards procure all the material that they need, then they go to the fabrication stage with the construction. And in this stage, there's a semi assemblies. So they'll build mostly at this stage is the metal plates that they will be fabricating, and make sure that the plates are molded to the standard of the design of the vessel. And once that stage is done, then these sub-assemblies, they will now be forming it in a block, which is in the unit fabrication stage. So they will be forming the unit out of the ships. And these days, shipyards build vessels not just only at one particular place. They build this unit from various places and then bring them together. Previously, in decades, we were looking at 3-4 decades ago, a whole complete ships built in one location. These days, the units and all these semi-assemblies are built in various locations and then bring together and then fit together in a one location in the shipyard. So the next stage after the fabrication unit is the surface preparation, where the units, the blocks are all put together, and then with the installation, they will be installing, outfitting pipes and cables and electrical units, and all those things will be fitted together. Once that surface stage is done, then the next stage is at the painting stage, where blasting will be done on the vessel as a whole, where painting will be done. At the painting stage, where painting is not only done at one stage. Throughout the building or the construction of the vessel, painting is done where they're building the unit in the blocks. At those stages, they also paint the vessel as well to their color. But when you put everything together, you fit the whole vessel together, you realize that some of the paint will not really match, or during fitting, during some welding, welding the unit and the blocks together, you still have that some of the paint also will be damaged, and some of the paint also may not really match with the way the whole entire design is until you put the vessel together in one unit. So at that stage, the painting will be done on the entire vessel, on the hull, and also on board as well. And when they're building the unit, they also do outfitting, that is laying the electrical equipment, cables, and other things. Or the outfitting can also be done after they fit the whole vessel. Then they will now be laying the cables, pipe, all the electrical equipment can be done at that stage. Once that is completed, painting is done, then the last but not the late stage is for the testing of the vessel. That's where the vessel will be put in the water or in the sea for it to be tested. Now they will run the vessel on the sea and test all the equipment they install on board the vessel to make sure that everything is functioning. Now, if some of the equipment are not functioning or some of the elements are not functioning, then they will go back and fit them. And once they fit, they will test it again. They will be going through these phases till everything on board the vessel is really functioning well. And then at that stage, after everything is functioning really well, there's no issue, then the vessel will be launched. And during the launching stage, that's where you see that they will have a big party, and naming of the vessel, have a big party, then the vessel will be delivered to the ship owner. One thing we didn't talk about in this stage is about the finance aspect. We will not talk about this on how various stages that a ship owner need to pay and which percentage you need to pay in various stages for the building of the ships. So we'll not talk about those financial aspect over here. So it's just about the construction, how the construction flow goes. So the final stage is the delivery, where the vessel will be delivered to the ship owner, and the ship owner take the vessel from there, and they can engage in operation. Any questions so far? Anybody have any question? Anyone with any question? If you have any question, feel free to interrupt. So and now let's look at the ship repairs. Now, if a ship is in operation, a ship is mostly the lifespan of a ship, a vessel will be 25 years or can be much longer. But 25 years approximately is the lifespan of a ship. So from the day that the vessel or the year that the vessel is launched, is in operations, definitely there will be issues or things that will go wrong with the vessel. So therefore the vessel have to go to repairs. Now for repair work, it can be minor repairs or a major repair. And repair work can be in various forms. It can be a conversion of the whole vessel, or doing overhaul, or doing your regular maintenance program. Conversion of the vessel mostly done where the vessel is totally transformed. For example, a supply vessel will be turned into a hospital, using it as a hospital. So these kind of work need a major work. But beside that, normal or minor repairs work also can be done through the regular maintenance program that the ship owner puts in place. Now, the repair work in the shipping industry, if you look at the industry as a whole, quarter or 25% of the labor force that we have in the industry are purely working in the repair work setup. So that's taking about building a new ship and other service aside. 25% is purely engaging in this repair work. And repair work, when a shipyard or a repair yard has received a repair work or contract to do a repair, the first thing is to plan your repair work properly. Because ship owners, as soon as they tender contract, they want the ship as quickly as possible, because a ship owner does not generate revenue if his ship is under repairs. because you're not carrying cargo. A ship owner only make revenue when the ship is on the water moving. So if the ship is not moving, stationed, he's losing money. So as a shipyard or a repair yard, you need to really plan thoroughly and make sure that you understand the contract specification that the ship owner or the shipping company is giving you, and then you categorize the work the way you're going to do the work and plan for this work and integrate it in the logical production plan so that you can move quickly and fast with your maintenance or repair work. And then also you determine the logical pathway, which work need to be done at what stage and what stage in order to finish your repair. Now, major repairs, as I said, may be in the form of converting the vessel to a different unit altogether, or by removing a section of the vessel and replacing it with another section. So which is also done by probably maybe some equipment on board the vessel is not working or it's not good, it's outdated, and you need to replace those equipment. Those are the major work, especially in the engine room, where you need to replace engine system. Those are much more of the repair works that you need to do. So these, you have to really make sure that you put a lot of effort in it and planning very well that the repair can be done as soon as possible for the ship owners, because ship owners are not happy if the vessel is in the dock for a very long time without a repair work carrying smoothly and fast. So with repair, some of the common repair work that done on the vessel include following. First of all, it's about blasting and repainting the ship hull as a whole. And with regard to the freeboard superstructure and then interior tanks and other areas that you need to work on. First of all, it's about the blasting and repainting of the ship hull. Did everyone know what the hull of a ship is? Anyone can tell us what the hull of a ship is? Anyone?
Yeah, it's the outside part of the boat, the lower bottom section of the boat that's in the water.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, so that is the outer shell of the vessel. So the entire outer shell of the vessel, that is the hull. So the major part, one, because the ship is in the water and it's in the water all the time, the ship body try to fuel. So the body will be generating fuel, and some of because the ship is also running in the water, the paint will wash away, and some still part of the ship will be exposed to the sea, and the seawater is a salty water, so some of the body will start to corrode. So then you need to take this vessel, do blasting, and then repaint the hull of the ship. Other painting, which can be done on board, on deck or inside, those one can be done when the vessel is undertaking the voyage, or if the vessel is in the port, those can be done. But where other parts need to be done, then yeah, those are the major work that the ship probably may be out of work for some time for this major work to be done. And some of the major work on ships can also be like rebuilding or installing a new equipment like the diesel engine, the turbine generators, or the pump station, replacing these. These can be a major work, and this will take time and also may sometimes require the ship to be out of service. And some of the major work may also be a system overhaul. You want to overhaul the entire system because of issues. So you want to do flashing, testing, and installation of the pipe system. Sometimes some of the pipes are weak, so you need to replace all these. These will require a major work. You can't do this work as the ship is in operation or undertaking the voyage. And sometimes you may also need to replace the radar system, propeller on all these, or do some modification and alignment to some equipment on board. And also maybe creating an entire new section altogether and fitting it into the vessel, cutting some part of the vessel, which is common because that section is maybe entirely weak. So you cut and replace it with a new section altogether. So these are some of the common work that normally repair work to be done on the vessel. Apart from that, the normal regular maintenance work done on board the vessel can be done when the vessel is undertaking the voyage, or if the vessel in the port. And mostly you will see that if the vessel in the port, some of the minor job like painting on board, or some of the freeboard painting, those ones will be done where the vessel is in the port. But again, also depending on the port, certain ports will not allow you to do that. So yeah, these are some of the common maintenance work that normally being carried on board the vessel. Now, with doing maintenance work or building the new ships also present some hazard to the employees working in this industry. There are two key major hazards that the industry face, or the employees in the industry face. That is the chemical hazard and also the physical hazard. Those are the two major hazards that they are exposed to. Chemical hazard definitely come from various areas. First of all, with regard to dusting and blasting of doing blasting operations, these create a lot of dust. Even though they try to cover themselves as much as possible, but you are still somehow exposed to this dust. So some of them may inhale this in their system, and then. Most serious one is also exposure to asbestos, especially when you are doing repair work. When you're doing repair work, every part of the ship that you cut or you expose, asbestos is everywhere. So it's a major issue for repair work, especially those who are doing a demolition. When you go to a demolition where the ship needs to be totally scrapped and taken out of business, it presents a lot of issue for these people. And mostly these are even serious because demolition is mostly carried out in developing countries, and where these health issues, there's no serious health issues or policies implemented in those areas, industry. So it's a major concern in the industry with regard to those. Apart from that, you also have vapors and coming from spray, mist, and also painting, the thinners and all those things. You have this strong odor that you constantly working in that environment, which is also present a great health challenge for them. Apart from that, you're also exposed to gas because you are doing welding work all the time, using gas. Sometimes those gas leak, so you are exposed to all these. Those are some of the chemical hazards that present to these workers working in the industry. Beside that, the physical hazard also range from various issues like electrical hazard that you are exposed to when you're working in the industry, and sometimes also the posture in which you are working. Most working on in a shipping, building a ship or doing repair work, especially when working on this ship, it's not a stable place that you just stand and working constantly or sit working constantly. Some of them, because these ships, the structure and the way in which you need to work, some of them have to work in certain directions, and you will be working in that direction, in that posture for very long time, and that can also affect your body as a whole. And also lifting certain type of equipment repetitively, doing that kind of lifting or handling for a long period of time during the same thing can also have effect on you. And also ironing and non-ironing radiations, those also present some physical hazard for them. And obviously, ship working in that environment is very noisy and vibration if you are working on it. Building the ships or working in the repair work when the ship comes to dock, it's sometimes you need to work from very high heights. it's ship. If you look at it, if it's on the ground, it's just like a story building, and some of them working from very high heights, and sometimes they fall. And these also present a very serious risks for the people working in this industry. Now, before we take a short break, the other things that I want us to look at before we take a break is about dry dock or dry docking. So with dry dock, and also let me ask, anyone can tell us what a dry dock is? Anyone can help?
Dry dock is where you put a ship into maintenance, and the dock will be flooded, and then you close it off, and then you take all the water out, and then the ship will be on like a hard stand, and you can sort of put or do maintenance to the ship's hull and other things. That's essentially what a dry dock is, or what I feel dry dock is.
Yeah, that's correct. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So a dry dock is where a ship is completely taken out of water, put on a dry line, or on a dock where the ship is completely out of the water. So as you rightly point out, yeah, the dock will be flooded with water. So that will make the ship to have access to come to that place, and then the water is being pumped up from the dock, and then the ship will be left on a dry land, so that the maintenance work can be done on it. So yeah, that is correct. So that's dry dock, and there are various forms of dry dock that are available, but these are few. So we have the gravy or gravitating dock, and we also have the floating dock, marine rail dock, and the ship lift dock, and also as well as the marine mobile lift. So we will take a short break, and if we come back, and then we continue with the dry dock. So just a 5 minutes break, and then we continue.
Sounds good.
All right, is everyone there? Shall we continue?
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so with gravity dock is a dry dock is a type of dock that is constructed on the land, which is near to the coastal water. So these are type of regular solid concrete structure which is built into the land. So the dock is a concrete structure where the dock doors will be open and the place will be flooded and the vessel will float into the dock. Once the vessel is in a position, then the gate of the dock will be closed. And once it's closed, then the water will be pumped up or released from the dock until every water is out of the dock, and then the vessel will rest on the hard blocks, the concrete. Then the repair work can start on the dry dock. So this type of dry dock is really good for the bigger vessels because these are much more a concrete structure, which are also very wide and big. So it's good for the bigger vessel. Now, dry docks are mainly used for maintenance and repair work, and where the shipyards are where the new ship will be built. Sometimes the shipyards also do maintenance work as well. So the shipyards will also take a contract for repair works, especially when they build a new ship. Some of them may enter into the contract with the ship owners for repair works to be done in their yards. So shipyards may also do the repair works, but we have dedicated dry docks which are there purely doing the repair works. That is their work, doing repair work. So shipyard can also do the repair, but the dry docks is where the repair works is mainly done. Now, the advantages for this gravity dock is that it can accommodate the bigger size of vessels, and then you can also use it to perform retrofitting and modification, etc. That is good because it's access to land, so you have easy access to supply and space and machineries. You can easily bring them. Most of them are already fitted into the dock, so it's easy. You have easy access to the dock, and the welding and hot surface or any hot work you need to done are already easy to do in those places. And the workshop, everything is inside, is located right inside. It's easy to repair work over there. And sometimes you can also do more than 2 ships at a time, doing the work on more than 2 ships at a time. And it's cheaper for docking similar size of vessels as well. But the downside of it is when it is flooded, when it's flooded, before you can do that, you need to take out all the equipment, tools, everything that you have in the dock. You need to take everything out, which takes a lot of time. You have to remove everything before you flood it, and which is a major work to do to remove everything. And also during the maintenance cost for the dock itself increase when the dock, the age of it is increasing. When it's getting old, then you have much more work, maintenance work to do with regard to the structure and everything. And the docking process, bringing in a vessel, also sometimes take time because you have to remove everything before you bring in the vessel and flood it and bring in the vessel. So it takes quite a time to do that. And the dock, when you are repairing more than 2 or repairing 2 ships, when you finish one and you have to take it out, that means operation for the other one have to stop. You have to bring it into a halt and then remove everything from the dock. Then before you can flood it to take that ship that you finished that need to be released, take it out. Then before you take it out and pump the water out of the dock again before you can continue the operation that you're doing on the second vessel or third vessel. so which is also the disadvantage, stopping operation before you can take another vessel out. The second type of docking, which is much more flexible, is a floating dry dock. So the floating dry dock, mostly these are in a U-shaped structure, and is good because these are floating docks. So it's good for when you want to salvage a vessel. Maybe a vessel is damaged, you want to salvage this vessel. It's good, so you can just take it there. So the advantage is the dock can go to the vessel, not the vessel coming to the dock. Like in case of gravity dock, it's the vessel that have to come to the dock. But with the floating dock, wherever the vessel is, the dock go to the vessel, and then you can easily dock in and floating. And it's cheaper in terms of maintenance compared to the gravity or the gravity docks. And it can also be installed near anywhere, either shore or far from harbor, close to harbor. So it's that is a good thing. And you can also, especially when the vessel is damaged, the vessel had an accident, that the vessel cannot really be stable. So this dock can either be tilted afterward or you can tilt it forward, so you can trim it in position in order for you to get the vessel on board. So you do this by balancing the dock. So this is also good. It's not like the gravity dock that it's a stable flat plan. So if the vessel cannot flow into it, that become an issue. So with regard to this one, it's not an issue. And you can also extend or increase it in every dimension in every area. So if the vessel size is big, you can still also expand it to accommodate the vessel as well. And you can also split it into two different floating docks, which is good advantage for the floating dock as well. But of course, it also has some disadvantages. Some of the disadvantages is with regard to the supply of stores and the equipment and manpower, because this is not like a gravity dock that is on shore that you have free access to today. So it's difficult, and mostly the operation you are doing operation from access from one side with regard to bringing this power and supply to the dock. You can only do that from one side, not from both directions. And maintenance cost of it's similar to the doing maintenance on the hull of the ship, because this is in the water, it's floating in the water. So you need to also do maintenance on the side of it. And sometimes when using the floating dock, you have issue with the tides. So when the tides, you are in a high tide, rough weather, then you have issue with this floating dock. And when you reflood the dock as well, again, similar to the gravity dock, you need to take all the equipment out before you flood the vessel again. And so this is the floating dock. The third one is a marine rail dock. So this marine rail dock is a mechanical means of hoisting a ship out of the water. So it's a rail system which is built, a rail track run down into the water. So where the vessel will be on the cradle, and then the cradle is hoisted, the vessel is hoisted and run through and bring on the dry ground. So the initial cost for it is low. That is good for this, and it's fast in terms of operating. Because the vessel is just moved on the cradle on the rail, and then quickly you move it to the position that you want to position it. And the track is sloped, which can fit naturally for the vessel, and also eliminate issue with regard to dredging. You don't need to have to do any form of dredging because of the natural slope of the track, the rail. And the vessel can also be transferred to and from the dock very easily, which is also good, just running the cradle up and down. So and sometimes if the vessel is even longer than the dock, you can still also use these marine railway dock, because if you can get the the fore part of the vessel in a position on a dry land, the other part can be extended out of the dock, and then you can still work on it. So yeah, but it's also a good, those are the good aspect about it. The disadvantage is that the structure, the rail structure, rail tracks is fixed. You can't move it, and which is harder even you can't resell it. So it's harder. And in terms of operation to mechanically, you really have to work and keep on maintaining the rail track system and the cradle, which is also a major work to do on it. And also the underwater part of it, because the track run into the water, so the underwater part of it also needs much more work constantly need to be done on it to make it fitted and used all the time. And sometimes also the vessel can damage the track, the rail track as well, which is also some of the disadvantage for this type of dock. And I put an example over here. As you can see, the vessel is just being on the cradle, and then it's hoisted, run on the rail track, and then it will be bring on the dry surface for the work to be done on the vessel. Any part of work need to be done that can be carried out on the vessel. Any questions so far?
No questions so far.
Thank you. So the other type of dry dock is the lifting dry dock. So this one is similar to that of the earlier dry dock we spoke of with regard to the floating dock. It's worked similarly somehow to that. It have various advantages, and also have some few disadvantages as well. Now, with regard to dry dock, the reason why you are using a dry dock is purely because you have a major work to do, repairs to do, and sometimes not really that you have repairs to do, but because of the requirement of the vessel, for the vessel need to be inspected, survey need to be done on the vessel. If major survey need to be done on the vessel, these vessels need to be taken out of the water. And so therefore you need a dry dock to do this survey. You can't do those survey when the vessel is in the water. When you only need to do survey on board the vessel, obviously, yeah, the vessel can be in the water, then the survey will be done. But if a survey needs to be done on the other shell and underneath the vessel, then the vessel needs to be in a dry dock. Or when you need a major maintenance work to need to be done, then the vessel needs to be in a dry dock in order for this to be carried out on the vessel. So with regard to the ship lift dry dock, the few advantages for it are it prevents delays because it's very easy for you to leave the vessel out of the water. It's just like you mentioned, the net and reef, and then you float it back. So it's similarly work like the floating dock. And it takes damaged vessel, like there may be maybe if a tanker grounded and it's leaking, you can easily use this to lift it and take it out of the water. So again, like a salvage vessel, you need to salvage the vessel. You can easily use it, and there's no real kind of requirement for estate requirement for you to carry out with regard to this, like the dredging or gravity docks that you need to fulfill all those requirements. Economically, the construction and the maintenance of it is very low. And then also you can use this for substitute vessel, maybe docking for within the same period. And yeah, it can be built to meet a specific needs as well. And it's also flexible, which is also good aspect of it. But on the other side, with the disadvantage, there are a few disadvantages with regard to the maintenance cost with regard to floating the dock. It's also similar like the floating dock. You need to do major work because it's also in the water. You need to do major work on it, just like on working on the hull of the vessel. And sometimes also bad weather will affect it with regard to the tide, if the tide is really high or low. But so these are some of the issues, especially in terms of bad weather. You have these major challenges. And it also poses a challenge for bigger vessel. It's really hard to use it for the bigger vessel. And when refloating again, just like the floating dock, you also need to move the equipment out of it. So I also put a picture over here for it. So here, because the vessel is lifted, we're using the ship lift and into the dry dock where work can be done on it. The last of the, or not the least of the dock, dry dock that we'll look at is about the marine mobile lift, which mostly used for the smaller vessels and the smaller craft. These mostly you will see they'll use this rubber tied carrier, or sometimes strata carrier. Strata carriers that will be used to lift this craft out of the water. So like the tug boats or fishing boats, patrol boats, all those, these are the smaller, the strata carriers that are used to lift these vessels out of the water. We don't really use they send them to the bigger docks because these are easily mobile in a port. They can use it in a port easily to lift the vessel for the work to be done on these vessels, and used to launch and recover the smaller boats and pontoons in the harbor, and also lift deep keel sailing yachts. And all these are pretty much the smaller kind of craft as boat and yachts. All these are it's good for lifting them, and because it's quicker and easier for in terms of operation, very easy with short period of time. You can just quickly lift the vessel, and then work need to be done. You finish work on it, and then you can lower it. So yeah, it's very handy and good for smaller crafts. Now let's look at some of the factors that will influence the choice of the ship owners or the owners of the vessel to choose a particular dock or dry dock to do their service. And in doing the dry dock, especially in a commercial ships, bigger ships, ships are doing either domestic or international voyages. When you want to send a ship to a dock, you first of all considering the trading area in which your vessel is trading. You don't want to send a vessel to a dock which is far from your trading area, because then the vessel is going out of service your trading area, and you don't want to do that. You want to keep your vessel close to the trading area. And unless maybe that dock is a very efficient one that you have or you want to use, then that justify it. And that also means that in terms of cost of operating conducting the dry dock, you want to cut down costs. So if that dry dock is very efficient and not in your trading area, then you may want to use it, because you don't want your ship to be out of service for a very long time. If your ship is out of service to a dry dock, nobody is paying you, you are losing money, and you don't want to do that. So you want to do dry dock as quickly, maintenance or whatever you need to do. You want to do it as quickly as possible to get a vessel into a service. Now, time is also very important. Time with a sense that time that it takes to do repair work on your vessel or maintenance on your vessel. The time comes in a sense that most of the time, the ship owners, they have certain specific work need to be done. And in doing that, other things also happen or crop up. Maybe it's just some welding work that they need to be done. They're welding certain things, and then it affects electrical system because they need to cut certain parts to fit it well, and then it affects the electrical system. So now these work against time, and that also is very important for the dry dock that you choose, a place where you need to do your dry dock, the country or the yard that you're doing your dry dock. If such a thing happens, you are doing a maintenance or service on one area, and then it affects another area. Now, if you don't have experts in the other area in that location, then it becomes very time consuming for the ship owners, because if electrical system, you don't have the expert to work on it, or different area, something happened in different area, you don't have experts in that dock to work on it. Sometimes some ship owners have to fly experts from different countries to come over. And to get these people, it's not just easy that you call and then the person is easily available, you are bringing in. It takes days. So that is also serve the reason why major maintenance are done in specific locations. For example, you take a place like Singapore, it's a major hub for this kind of dry dock maintenance to be done, because whatever happened, you have everybody within Singapore that you can easily have access to, and all those dry dock are easily located. You have all major experts in that area, so it's become easier for you to do dry dock. Which you are doing something, different thing happen, you can easily continue with it without taking excessive time delay of your vessel. Safety is also paramount in terms of undertaking the work, and also the type of work that they're doing. Safety is very important, as well as the technical ability, as I've just spoke about. So it's not about one specific technical aspect. Having technical expertise in different areas is also very important, as well as the local infrastructure. Sometimes financial situation also may influence. Certain dry dock may pre-finance the operations, which means as a ship owner, you don't have to finance it upfront, but certain dock also, that facility is not there, so you have to finance it, and these are very capital intensive if you're doing this kind of operation. And if you don't have a bank that also can finance you, then it becomes an issue. And another area is about the weather and the season in which you're doing the dry dock operations. So if weather in that area, that the dock that you're doing, the repair work, the weather is not favorable, this is also will affect you and how long it's going to take to get your vessel back into position. And above all, operational restrictions with regard to tide, depending on which dock that you're using. And these are also some of the things as a ship owner you will consider before you send your vessel to a particular dock, or you choose certain type of dock to do your service with, or any area that you choose to use to do your dry dock service. Now, last but not the least is for the topic to look at this morning is about the classification society. So with classification society, they are very important in the industry. They make sure that the ships in operating in the industry are conforming to the high standard. So every single ship is under a class. Now, if I say every single ship, that doesn't mean every single ship in the world are under classification society or in class. We still have ships operating in different geographical locations that are not under class, which means they are not conforming to the international rules and regulations. We have it, and especially when in developing countries, certain ships are not under registered and they're operating, and these are phantom ships, they still exist. But generally, if you're operating commercially, local or internationally, that vessel need to be in class. So it's a classification society that watch under the watch vessel, you register them, and they will monitor, check the vessel. And the classification society, shipping country, maritime countries also, some of them use them for inspecting the vessel, either inspecting the vessel for them in various ports, or some of the maritime nations also use them as a port state control. So we know that if you register a vessel under a certain national flag, for example, you register a vessel under Australia flag, then the Australia Maritime AMSA need to inspect and check the Australia vessels are conforming to international standards. So if the Australia vessels enter in a port, AMSA can get on board a vessel to inspect the vessel to make sure that the vessel are conforming to the international standard. And in the same vein, if any foreign vessel also come into Australia ports, the AMSA also has the right to go on board and check whether those vessels are also conforming to international standard. So these are some of the rules that the Classification Society also fulfill on behalf of the ship owners. Besides that, them representing countries also operating on behalf of the country, they mainly represent the ship owners and making sure that the ships are conforming to. So if the ship is not conforming to the standard or Classification Society, inspect the vessel, they realize that the vessel is not up to standard, then they will remove that ship if the ship owner didn't rectify the issues that they have recommended. So that ship will be blacklisted. So that is the major work of Classification Society, making sure that the ships are conforming to the standard. So that is the reason when during the building phase, we also mentioned about the Classification Society, that when a ship is being built, they are also there watching the construction of the vessel, that the vessel is being built according to the standard and meeting all expectations. In the same way, if the vessel is in operation for the entire lifespan of the vessel that it will be in operation, the Classification Society will make sure that the vessel is conforming to those standards. They also enforce the regulations either implemented by international maritime organizations, and also making sure that all guidelines with regard to safety are conformed to. Classification Society also conducts a survey on the vessels. So we'll talk briefly in the next slides about survey. So they do survey and do inspection covering the design when they are doing the designing phase, the construction phase, or through the entire operation of the vessel, the lifetime of the vessel. They also check on that. Now we have various Classification Society that operate globally. So the ship owner has option to choose which Classification Society that they want to work with. So on the list over here are a few of the Classification Societies that we have. And I'm pretty much sure the common one that you have or you hear or see mostly in the news is about Lloyd's Register. So Lloyd's Register is one of the common ones you hear of, or BV, Berevitas, or DMV. These are some of the common ones maybe you may be hearing, but there are other Classification Society that also exist, also operate. So as a ship owner, when you are building your ship, you will choose, appoint a Classification Society that will represent you. Or if you just walk into the secondhand markets and then bought a new ship in the secondhand market, then before you acquire a ship, you also appoint a Classification Society that will represent you. So Classification Society depending on the ship owner. If you have a ship is under Lloyd's Register and then that ship is being sold to a different ship owner, that different ship owner is not necessarily will go with the Lloyd's Register. He may decide maybe to go with DMV or maybe go with American Bureaus of Shipping. So the ship owners have the choice on which Classification Society they want to use. At the same time, as I mentioned, some maritime nations also use the Classification Society to represent them and watch over the vessels that register under the flag for them as well. Any questions so far? Anyone?
No questions from me so far.
Okay, good. The last point for us is about survey. So a survey is carrying on vessels to make sure that the vessels are safe for the operation in which they are to undertake. Because vessels operate in a hostile environment, they are working in the rough and bad weather. And if you build a new ship, that new ships will not be in that good condition. So the survey need to be done, and we have survey that are various form of survey that are normally being carried out. So first is the initial survey. Initial survey is where the vessel is launched. So the survey will be carried out. So even though the the vessel, when it's being constructed, is going through a monitoring and make sure that the vessel is conformed to the standard. But where the vessel is actually launched, initial survey also will be carried out to make sure the vessel is still in good shape, can fit for the purpose in which you need to undertake. There are voyage surveys. So this survey is done during when the vessel is undertaking the voyage. And then we also have continuous survey, which we can carry out continuously over a period of time. Now, with survey, as I mentioned previously, when a vessel is undertaking the vessel is being surveyed, some of the survey will mean that the vessel will be out of business or out of water for survey to be carried out. And some survey to the vessel will still be in operation, like voyage survey, continuous survey. The vessel will still be doing its doing its duty, carrying cargo, and this survey can be done. In doing that, the ship owners also have a planned maintenance system, and these are the systems they put in place just to make sure that the maintenance are carried out on the ships. So if anything happens, they have their regular maintenance program that they're doing, which classification society may approve. So once these are done, the classification society, a particular classification society may be satisfied with the program that the ship owner institute with regard to the maintenance program. He'll be okay with it, or the ship owner may the classification society may require the ship owner to carry out some form of survey need to be carried out before they can allow the vessel to be in class. If classification society is not satisfied with the maintenance program that the ship owner put in place, the classification society may remove that vessel out of the class, so the vessel will not be in class. If the vessel is not in class, the vessel cannot trade, cannot enter in a port. If a vessel enter in a port, which is that port rectify IMO conversion, that port may detain the vessel because the vessel is out of class. So the classification society will seriously monitor the ship owner that their maintenance system or the program that they put in place are really working, making sure that the ship fit for the purpose. Now with survey, it's not only the classification society that can do the survey. We have individual or private surveyors which are also out there, which also carry out survey on the vessel. So for example, if a ship owner wants to sell a ship, if he wants to sell his ship in the secondhand market, the ship owner may require a survey to be carried out to determine the value of the ship, that is how good the vessel is, the condition of the vessel. With these, the ship owner may choose a private surveyor to do this for him, or they may also use the classification society to do this. So we also have private survey companies out there which also carry survey on the vessel. Now, with our final point with regard to the type of surveys that we have, we have what we call the special surveys or renewal surveys. Special survey is a survey that is carried on every 5 years interval of the vessels when the vessel is in operation. So every 5 years from the time that the vessel is launched. After every 5 years, these survey has carry out on a vessel. And these are what we call special survey. So this special survey mostly will involve the vessel be out of the water. So taken into the dry dock, where thorough examination will be done on the vessel, and the vessel hull and structure, the whole structure will be examined. The main auxiliary machinery will be examined, and also the system and equipment, member condition of the vessel, all these will be examined thoroughly. So these are normally done when a special survey is being carried out. So it's done every 5 years. Apart from that, we have the annual survey. So annual survey is carried out mostly 3 months before the anniversary of the vessel, or 3 months after the anniversary of the vessel. So which means the ship owners have 6-month windows to carry out this annual survey. So you can do the annual survey 3 months before the anniversary of the vessel, or 3 months after the anniversary of the vessel. So that 6-month windows give you that you have to do the annual survey within that time. If you didn't do it, the annual survey, that period elapsed, then your ship will be removed from class because your ship is not conforming to standard. And then we also have the intermediate survey. Intermediate survey is carried out 3 months before the second and the 3 months after the third anniversary of the vessel. So at the third anniversary, the third year, that's where these intermediate surveys is being carried out. And we also have other form of survey, which I mentioned previously with regard to voyage survey, where the survey will be carrying out where the vessel is undertaking the voyage. We also have the bottom or the docking survey. With this, the bottom part of the vessel need to thoroughly examine. So again, this vessel means it need to be taken out of the water into a dry dock for the bottom docking survey need to be done. But sometimes some of the bottom survey, for example, maybe is just some issues, some dent at the bottom. This will not require the vessel to be taken out of the water. Rather, they'll use the divers to go to dive when the vessel is in port doing operation, maybe loading and offloading. The divers will dive down and do this kind of survey. That can also be done when the vessel is in operation. So the vessel necessarily don't have to come out of the water. It can be done when the vessel is in the port doing loading and offloading. The third shaft survey mostly is being carried out to do a survey for the screw shaft and then the turbine shaft, and to examine that they are in good condition and working properly. And then we also have a partial survey. Partial survey is done where the classification society allow the postponement of the complete survey. So when the complete survey is being postponed because maybe the ship owner is carrying out during some maintenance or doing survey for a certain period of time, so that allow for the partial survey to be carried out. So that means complete survey will be postponed. And then we also have non-periodic survey, which are carrying out intermediately within time, also depending on the ship owner's own maintenance program, which classification society may allow based on the program that the maintenance program that the ship owner institutes. So they'll allow the ship to be in class. And maintenance program for the ship owners ranges for various forms. Some of them, mostly these days, they are computerized maintenance program, which means the computer determine which part of the vessel maintenance need to be done, popping up in the system for them to do maintenance on them. Sometimes the ship owners also have their specific period of time that after maybe every 6 months or every 3 months, we need to do maintenance on certain part of the vessel, or also depending on the condition of the vessel. But these maintenance programs become very intensive when the ship is aging. When the ship is getting older, then maintenance become a major issue, and also result in a lot of cost for the ship owner in terms of operating. So that is it. Bring us to the end of today's lecture. Any question from anyone for what we discussed so far?
No question from me, Peter.
Yeah. Okay. Any other person? Any question? Anything not clear, or you have any question beside this? If you have anything. Unfortunately, today I didn't post the tutorial questions on Milo, so we'll not have the tutorial today. So next week we'll have the tutorial after the lectures. Any question? If not any question, then that brings us to the end of today's lectures. So we'll meet next week. But beside that, if you have any question, feel free to shoot me, flip me an email, or you can also book a time to talk to me on Skype or or even on Zoom. Yeah, you can arrange meeting if you have any questions or anything that you have, or you can also phone in. So yeah, if you have any questions with regard to today's or anything, feel free to get in touch.
Sure. Hey, Peter, is there going to be a tutorial of some description today, or is this the end of our classes today?
No, today there's no tutorial today.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.
Thanks, Peter.
No worries.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So see you next week.
See you next week.